Hello, everyone, and welcome to our final Moody Talk on distress tolerance. So if you've been going along with me throughout the month, we've been talking about distress tolerance as a concept, what it means in DBT, and the things that we can do to help us during distressful times, building ourselves a toolbox of coping skills for when we're in distressful situations, and sometimes we're in distressful situations and we're able to step away from them, and the things that we can do to help us to better cope with the stress that comes with these events. Okay, so we talked about what distress tolerance is, and we've talked about two different concepts of coping skills. TIP, which is to change your body chemistry, whether it's with temperature, with cold, if it's doing extreme exercise to just get us out of what is going on in our head, just to get us into a different mindset. Also, different breathing activities that we've gone through. And we've also gone through accepts, which is the more along the lines of things that we can do for ourselves, not so much physically, but mentally, so that we can take ourselves out of the situation, give ourselves something that works well for us, like maybe using your different senses for taking you out of this stressful event, including listening to loud music, listening to your favorite music, reading a book, watching a funny movie, simple things like that, but then going even farther and doing things for, charitable reasons. Maybe this helps you by focusing on other people, and that gets you out of your own mind and into thinking about things that you can do for other people to help them. So it's just all those different kinds of concepts. So we've talked about that. We're going to talk about the harder concept for distress tolerance, and that is radical acceptance. And this is a difficult one to really wrap your head around, because it's not in our nature, as I feel, it's not in my nature at least, to just accept that I can't change something, change what's going on in a situation, or something that's going to be more long term. And it's true, we get into these kind of places where we don't want to accept that something is final, something is out of our control, that we can't fix or change. So that is what we're going to be talking about today, radical acceptance. Now, the term radical means all the way, complete, total. So this is basically taking yourself completely out of it and accepting the situation, the event, as it is completely. Not half of it, and not like, oh, but I can change these parts of this situation. It's all of it. And that's in your body, your mind, everywhere. You're going to accept this completely. Okay. It also is, it's when you stop fighting reality, stop throwing tantrums because reality is not the way you want it, and let go of bitterness. So, that seems like, kind of extreme to say to someone, like, don't throw tantrums about this. You may not be throwing physical tantrums about this, but in your mind, you may be going wild in your head and literally throwing a mental tantrum. Not that people can see, not physically, but it's like a hurricane in your head, okay? And it's accepting that you no longer have control over this and learning how to calm the hurricane in your head, okay? What has to be accepted in radical acceptance? Reality as it is, the facts about the past and the present, and the facts even if you don't like them, right? Makes sense? There are limitations on the future for everyone, but only realistic limitations need to be accepted, okay? Everything has a cause, including events and situations that cause you pain and suffering, right? Life can be worth living even with painful events in it. So I think that makes a lot of sense to talk about, that The events that we're having, that are the events that are causing us all of this distress, may not last forever. They're not very permanent, right? Yes, we have situations where things are going to be permanent, and we can't change that. But we also have to understand that it's not something that's going to be a lasting thing. Every single day we're feeling this pain, this, torture of ourselves. It's not going to be an everyday thing that we're feeling this limitation, right? Let's see. And then this is why accept reality. Rejecting reality does not change reality. And that's something that's a bitter pill, right? We have to just accept that this is the situation. This is what's happening. We can't change that. This is reality, and reality cannot be changed, right? Changing reality requires first accepting reality. So, in this situation, you accept that it's reality, and maybe you can put your mind to it and make changes, right? But if you're not accepting the initial reality, you're not going to be able to move ahead to find the change that you may want of it, right? Pain can't be avoided. It is nature's way of signaling that something is wrong, okay? Rejecting reality turns pain into suffering. So what that means is the initial pain that you feel of it, if you can't let that reality sink in and accept it, it's going to turn into longer term suffering. And I think that makes a lot of sense. When we hold on to something that we really can't do anything about, we suffer for that, right? It's not just that initial pain. We're causing ourselves suffering. Refusing to accept reality can keep you stuck in unhappiness, bitterness, anger, sadness, shame, or other painful emotions. It's true. Again, when you're moving forward from this initial reality, if you're stuck in it, you're going to keep feeling those difficult emotions that you don't want to be feeling because you're not letting it go. Acceptance may lead to sadness, but deep calmness usually follows, right? Again, this isn't long term. If you can accept this reality, you're going to be able to move forward. And then the pain, what does that say? Oh my gosh. The path out of hell is through misery. By refusing to accept the misery that is part of climbing out of hell, you fall back into it. I mean, that seems like a pretty extreme, but it's understandable. What else do we have here? We have practicing radical acceptance. So it's observing that you're questioning or fighting reality. So you figured it out. You're fighting this, and you understand you are. Remind yourself that the unpleasant reality is just as it is and cannot be changed. This is what happened, right? That's what we can say. This is what happened. This is what has been experienced. Remind yourself that there are causes for the reality. Acknowledge that some sort of history led up to this very moment. Consider how people's lives have been shaped by a series of factors. Notice that giving these causal factors and now history led up to this moment. This reality had to occur just this way. It happened the way it happened, right? Practice accepting with the whole self, mind, body, and spirit. Be creative in finding ways to involve your whole self. Use accepting self-talk, but also consider using relaxation. Okay. Practice opposite action. And I've spoke about opposite action and other Moody Talks. So you can definitely take a look through Moody Talks and you will find opposite action. I find this very helpful to get through a lot of like PTSD symptoms that I have is, slowly moving yourself towards making a change or doing the thing that scared you in the past. Okay. Cope ahead with events that seem unacceptable. Imagine in your mind's eye believing what you don't want to accept. Rehearse in your mind what you would do if you accepted what seems unacceptable. Attend to body sensations as you think about what you need to accept. Allow disappointment, sadness, and grief to arise within you and just notice it, right? Allow disappointment, sadness, or grief to arise within you. It's okay that it's happening, right? It's okay that it's happening. We all have, all our emotions are valid, and we're experiencing them for a reason. Acknowledge that life can be worth living even when there is pain. And do pros and cons if you find yourself resisting practicing acceptance. So I've also done pros and cons as a coping skill that you can find in other episodes, and I highly suggest that you do that. Finally, and this is very important, what is not radical acceptance, right? So radical acceptance is not approval of the situation, compassion, love, passivity, or against change. What this really means is you don't have to accept that something bad has happened or someone's done wrong to you. It's not accepting it and either forgiving it, giving love to that person who has harmed you. It's not about that. It's about accepting the situation as it is, not the person who may have done it. You can still be angry at a person. You can still decide not to be a part of someone's life because of what has been done. This is not about accepting someone even though they've harmed you. For example, I do not radically accept that I don't accept my father as my abuser. He's abused me. I've accepted the reality that I've been abused, but I don't accept him. I don't forgive him for what he's done. That's not radical acceptance. It's accepting the situation that has happened and moving forward. And not so much even leaving behind the memory of it, but accepting that it's what happened. And now you can make decisions based on the reality that is there for you. Not about accepting abuse in any way. That has nothing to do with radical acceptance. You can accept that the abuse happened. You can then move forward in treating the trauma that you had with the abuse. You're not accepting your abuser, okay? That is something that I had to learn, especially with radical acceptance, because immediately you may hear that word radical acceptance and think, no, there's no way that I'm going to forgive someone for what they've done to me. You don't have to. That's not what this is about. It's accepting that it happened and moving forward with that reality and doing whatever you need to do to help yourself with that. For example, my PTSD. I accept that I have PTSD. I can't change that I have PTSD, but I can move forward and work through that trauma and heal. And that is what is the most important part of this. You don't ever have to accept abuse, but you can accept that it happened, and then you can make decisions on how you are going to move forward with your life. You can choose to ignore it, though I don't think that's necessarily the best option. I spent a long time doing that, and I highly suggest you don't do that from my own history. You can move forward understanding who you are and what you can do to help yourself. So that is what radical acceptance is. And I hope that I did a good job of giving you this education about it. And there are a lot of different people who tell you a lot of different things about radical acceptance. But this is the way that I look at it. This is the way DBT teaches it. If you have any questions or comments about that, please reach out, DM me, put something in the comments about it, and I'd be more than happy to talk more about it. But this is the end of our month of distress tolerance. And I hope that this has been helpful. And I hope that you can take some of these skills and change them, turn them into a toolbox of coping skills for yourself, the ones that work for you. So have a great rest of your week, and I will see you next month for interpersonal communication. This one's going to be a good one. So I highly recommend you stick with us to talk more about that.